Persona 3 is a story about death. Memento mori. Remember, you will die. That's what echoed in my head for several years, since high school really. Every time I thought about Persona 3. I started with Persona 4. The investigation team is who I started with and love dearly. But every time I mentioned that I love P4, the topic of Persona 3 came up. Have you played it? Kinda, would always be my answer. I own Persona 3 FES and Persona 3 Portable physically. I've kinda started them both. Keyword started. I've tried, but every time I find myself falling off the game. I tried FES but fell off due to the sickness system and lack of party member control. Persona 4 had spoiled me, and there was a disconnect in my brain. That doesn't mean FES had zero effect on me. The opening shot of Yukari struggling to use her evoker still sits with me to this day. I tried P3P hoping that controlling party members would help me. I even tried the female protagonist. I can't remember how far I got. I know some of the differences and I know I played it, but I have no distinct memory of how far I got. I love visual novels. I love turn-based battles. So why couldn't I get into this? I don't know if it was my age or that something else caught my attention, but I put Persona 3 down, and I thought that was the end of it. Persona 5 was about to come out anyways, and that was new and shiny. I knew the characters of P3, I thought. Persona 4 Arena and Persona Q had given me those characters, and what more did I need? Those are the happy versions of those characters from a depressing game I couldn't get into. Why would I need to return to Persona 3? Crazy how time flies, the lyrics of Reload's intro goes.
Crazy how time flies.
And it's true. I'm now older, out of college, and more jaded. However, I feel in other aspects of my life I'm immensely more open to change than I've ever been. What's a video essay without getting really personal? 2020 was a turning point for all of us, I'm sure you're tired of hearing it, but realistically, while 2020 brought me a lot of crossroads, it was 2022 that beat me down, tore me asunder, and said to give up. But I didn't. I got up, and 2023 ended up being the best year of my life. I did so much, and nothing I accomplished was something that you could chart on a graph or say means anything in terms of my career or anything measurable. But I was happy. What the hell does any of this have to do with Persona 3? You just wanted to brag you had a good year. Not exactly. I think those 2 years of my life were necessary for me to be able to appreciate Persona 3. Persona 3 Reload came out in this current year, 2024 if you're from the future, and I was very skeptical. I was skeptical to the point it's almost as if my past self and my future self were fighting each other. I saw a leaked Thurgy move and thought, that's too flashy for a critical hit. That would get so annoying. Then the game was announced and I'm like, well, I don't know if that would change how I feel about Persona 3. Wait, how did I feel about Persona 3? I was annoyed at the mechanics, sure, I knew the story from watching on YouTube forever ago, but how did I feel? Did I even have opinions on the game? I talked about hating the sickness system, not being able to control your party members, etc., but never about the story. Was this just going to be a slog about death? Was I going to trudge to the inevitable, knowing the spoilers, knowing the ending, knowing exactly what the final end point was? It wasn't going to change it. It couldn't. So what would make me like it? The story may not have changed, but I had. I was a more accepting and open person by this point with a ton more experience, years of it in fact. So I bought the game, popped it into my system, and was greeted by a wash of blue. I've always known this was Persona 3's color and always associated with depression, but something was different this time. I felt relaxed almost. Went through the beginning of the game, appreciating the new graphics, the new cutscenes, and hitting familiar beats of the intro. Raising my social stats, realizing how much I dislike Kenji, and getting to the first boss. The first boss really impressed me with the changes they had made, and I was loving the combat. Everything was feeling familiar, but well polished. Then I started to get to the new stuff, like the hangouts, the link episodes, cooking, gardening, connecting with fully voiced social links. I was engrossed in the game fully and the days were flying by, both in-game and in my real life. I was happy. I was enjoying life, enjoying the game's life and its characters. I will warn the next section will cover pretty heavy spoilers for Persona 3 Reload. If you've been watching thus far, I really appreciate it, but if you don't want to be spoiled, I recommend skipping to the next timestamp provided on the screen. I knew Shinjiro was fated to die. His fate was sealed the moment he started taking those pills, well before we ever gained control in this story. But I found myself actually liking him when I gave him a shot. Previously, I know I had thoughts of, well, it would be pointless to use him. He's just gonna die. But two things happened. One, there's a trophy for getting everyone's Thurgy, so I had to bring him into battle. Plus, with the Great Clock, I could catch up others that fell behind in XP, so I'm not losing anything. Second, his Link episodes. I tried to convince him to come back to school because Mitsuru asked me to, but even though this was scripted, I found myself wanting him to come back. I knew his fate and I wanted him to have a shred of his old life back. I wanted him to tell Akihiko for once that he's doomed to die, but he's trying to protect the ones he cares about And it's with this, on the final day before his death when I was cooking with him, for the third time, I got his skill. A personality skill I will never use. I was sad. Sad that my time with him was up. I knew what October 4th meant and I couldn't run from it. I saw him dying in Akihiko's arms, telling Ken that he should live, and I lost it. I broke down into tears. Why did I care? What was it about this character that I knew from the start was dead on arrival, someone who gets 2 months with us in the party, that made me shed tears? In fact, more importantly, why did I care about my own protagonist? He's destined to die too. I knew this. Stop being about the social links, the social stats, the gameplay. I wasn't using a guide. Sure, I could have tried to max everyone in one run, get all the trophies, but I just found myself playing, figuring out what I wanted to do day by day, living my life. There was one moment that stuck with me well past turning off the game, partially due to the story that was written and presented to me, and partially due to an accidental, natural gameplay moment. I knew about Junpei and Chidori going in, but I had forgotten most of the context. So when Junpei is shot and Chidori gives her life for him, I was heartbroken. I knew that she was fated to die, but the way she went about it struck a chord with me, simply because I now had the context of their relationship in full. Not bits and pieces strung together from a YouTube Let's Play I sort of remember watching on an iPad. Junpei's new voice actor, Zeno Robinson, should be given a ton of credit. His stellar work put a real and raw emotion into this character. I already liked his work from him as Hawks in My Hero Academia, but this in my opinion is his best role so far. I used to say, Junpei's fine, I don't mind him, but this performance, especially the moment when the cast is contemplating the finality, and he lashes out only to apologize later, really made me come to love Junpei.
This whole thing is your fault. You had that thing inside you and didn't even know it. You raised it, damn it! If it weren't for you, none of this would have happened!
Junpei!
You're supposed to be special, right? Then do something about it!
Stop it, Junpei. It's not his fault. And the only reason we even have a choice is because he carried it.
God damn it, I know! It's just, it doesn't matter how many times I tell myself, I know this doesn't fix anything. It scares the hell out of me!
This is a character who has flaws and makes mistakes and is allowed to learn from these mistakes. No one's saying everything he did was perfect, that he made the correct choice every single time, or even said the right things. But he is allowed to be his own character, a human. A moment Atlus could have never anticipated being my biggest takeaway from this game, I found in the gameplay. I was fighting the Reaper, both for the trophy and for the Elizabeth request, and I had gotten him down to low health when I decided to end with Junpei's new Thurgy, which I'm going to show here.
On you, buddy! I'm not screwing around! Coming through! Goodbye! Never alone.
Oh,
I can keep on going!
Good work out there.
At first, at a glance, this is just a sick move. It's powerful, it's a full HP heal, it finished the job on the Reaper, and I got my trophy. However, this stuck with me. I shared the video with some friends, but showing it to others made me realize this was death. A smaller manifestation of death than Ryoji, sure, but a constant throughout the Persona series. And Junpei just landed the final blow with the power given to the one who conquered his own death. The last animation of Chidori before her spirit heals Junpei, giving a soft smile that he continues to live on. Okay, maybe I'm imagining that last part, but the fact that I'm thinking this much about an animation in a video game, and what effectively is just a limit break, speaks to the chance encounter of emergent gameplay that I didn't think Persona was capable of. I looked up the lyrics of Full Moon, Full Life. I wrote most of this before even remembering the song's title, and one final lyric hit me as I finished writing this script. That is, sometimes it's the journey that itself teaches. A lot about the destination not aware of. I think that sums up how I've been approaching games of late. There's a lot of emphasis about a game's ending, how a game ends can make or break a story. I've found myself agreeing with that in the past, taking the recency bias and letting it shape how I feel about a piece of media in its totality. For movies, it makes more sense. After 2 hours, we're left with only the ending. But video games are longer, more involved than that. I put 69 hours, nice, into Persona 3 Reload, knowing full well where it ended. Why would I have done that if the journey meant nothing? I want to return to what I said I thought Persona 3 was about at the beginning of this. Memento Mori, remember you will die. Before Reload, my interpretation on this was strictly it was a game about death, the destination. Finishing Persona 3 Reload made me realize that my understanding of the literal translation of Memento Mori wasn't wrong. My interpretation of the statement was. Remember that you will die is not a looming threat. It's an encouragement to live life to its fullest in the ways that you can, in small things that make you happy. Do the daily things that give your life meaning to you, and while you shouldn't forget the end, don't live in fear of it. This isn't a game about depression and death. This is a game about hope and life. Folks, thank you so much for watching. This was the first time I've ever had the motivation to do something like this. A video essay is not really in my repertoire, but I had fun making this and I hope you had fun watching it. I do stream on Twitch if you want to follow me here. I also tweet on Twitter, I do some TikToks occasionally, but for that and everything else, follow me, subscribe, and I'll see you later.